Are you ready to stain your pressure-treated wood fence but wondering how long you should wait? Hey there, I'm Christina with Backyardscape, where we share tips and ideas to make your backyard your favorite hangout spot. So make sure you subscribe so you can get the latest of all of our videos. Well, most fences are built with pressure-treated wood. You have the posts for the frame, the 4x4s or 2x4s, and 1x4s or 1x6s for the pickets. On average, you'll want to wait 4 weeks to 6 months before staining the posts. And this is largely dependent on just how humid your area is. There are a couple of different types of pressure treated wood that you can get. And then based on which one you get determines just how long you need to wait before you stain the wood. There's also a price difference between the two, so we'll cover that below as well. First, you can look at wet pressure treated wood. With the wet pressure treated wood, the preservatives are impregnated or almost like injected. They're just soaked into the lumber via high pressure to protect deep inside the wood. It's still wet when it's sold at the lumber stores, and you can kind of feel how much heavier it is. This is that greenish lumber that you see at the store, and it still feels damp to the touch when you pick it up. If you get the wet pressure treated wood and you live in a low humidity area, then you could probably wait, say, 2 to 3 weeks before you stain your wooden fence. Now, if you're like us and live in a high humidity location, we live in Florida, then you might have to wait as much as 6 months for your larger lumber to dry. This is especially true with 4x4s that have moisture deep inside them. Now, the second type is kiln dried pressure treated lumber, and this is treated the same, but it's also kiln dried afterwards, meaning they put it in a kiln to dry before they sell it. And this process really helps with the checking and the warping, the wood checking or the warping of the wood that usually happens with pressure treated wood. Kiln dry is more stable since it's already dry and ready to stain right away. The thing to think about is it's usually more expensive than the wet pressure treated wood, and it's not regularly stocked in most lumber stores, probably because it's more expensive. So how can you tell when you can finally stain your fence? How can you tell if it's dry? The best way that you can tell whether or not your pressure treated lumber is ready is to do kind of a dry test. Or you sprinkle the wood surface with water, and if it beads up, then the wood is still too wet and you still need to wait before applying a finish. Now, if the water soaks right into the wood, then it's dry and it's ready to stain or paint. And also note that the larger wood will often take longer to dry than, say, the wood picket fences. So a lot of people always ask, like, well, so what happens if you stain it too early? Well, if you put the stain on the wood and it's already wet, then the stain's just not going to take. So you're putting it on, but it won't dry and you'll have to do it again. With staining wood, the stain has to penetrate into the wood for it to be effective, which is why dry wood is essential for that to happen. Also note that staining isn't cheap, especially if you get a good stain. So definitely test a small section if you're still not sure before you go over a big O area to see if it's still wet. And then a lot of people ask, well, does staining my fence even protect it? A lot of people will confuse stain with a wood sealer. Stain simply colors the wood, while a top coat finish or a sealer will actually protect the wood against UV damage, moisture, and mold or mildew. So most newer products provide a stain and sealer all in one product, so you can buy each separately, but do realize that if you just put stain on your fence without a top coat sealer, then it's going to fade and not protect your wood from the elements. So now you can go out and test your wood, see if it beads up or if it soaks in, and that'll tell you if your fence is ready for staining. And thanks for watching.